All right, well, today I'm going to watch a couple scenes from a Netflix series that my assistant put together for me. And apparently, this particular series is using a track that I wrote 13 years ago in every episode, and they're really getting a lot of use out of it. And this particular track is actually from my very first trailer album called Darklight. This was recorded in the summer of 2011. It was released at the very beginning of 2012. And we ended up landing a lot of pretty big film trailers from this record. Actually, even as most recent as 2019 with Disney's Aladdin and Maleficent 2, Mistress of Evil, or something like that, I believe is what it's called, with Angelina Jolie. The track is called Trembling Ground. And let's take a listen to the track first, and then we're going to watch a couple clips from this particular Netflix series. So let's give this song a listen. So something I want to point out right off the bat is what makes this intro actually quite compelling is the effect that's on the guitar. And I believe this was a Qtron, an old Qtron effect that I had long time ago. And if you listen to it and just imagine it without that moving EQ, or it almost sounds like a fake talk box. If you're a guitar player, it's a talk. You know what a talk box is. If you're not a guitar player, the talk box is the sound at the beginning of Bon Jovi's "Living on a Prayer." That walk, 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 walk kind of sound. It has that kind of vibe to it, which grabs your attention, and I think that really makes this intro quite interesting because the notes really aren't. This is very typical of this particular style of trailer that we were writing at the time, which was this big epic orchestral piece. And pretty much that's what we did through this entire album, where we have a big section and then a sustained chord, and then a build into something that's just absolutely crazy. I forgot what's coming up, but we're going to hear it here in a second. Throwing it back to that intro again, the heavy part. I believe I was listening to a lot of Dream Theater at that time. Let's see what's going on here. Okay, so just another build, and it looks like we have a couple hits coming up. Always good to have those in a trailer somewhere. So back to that heavy B section, lots of crazy orchestral stuff. There's some loops going on. All right, there you go. It's amazing how long ago that was. That was recorded 13 years ago, and that's a fun trip down memory lane. Now let's check out the song or the show that this was used in. It was a Netflix series called Drive Hard the Maloof Way. I've never seen this, but this is a series on cars. I'm surprised I haven't seen it. I like car shows. There you have it. Okay, so it's right off the bat. That's a nice placement right there, right after the Netflix logo. It's kind of a transitional usage there. Okay, so it's interesting when you listen to this, the riff happens twice, and you can actually hear the editor fade out the guitar and fade in those orchestral hits. And the dun 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 dun, the 3 or 4 hits there. Let's go and see what's happening with the next.
I'll give you 25,000 up front,
placement.
and when I.
All right, man, great job.
Yeah, good job. All right.
Definitely a lot going on then.
All right, so it looks like they're using this as a transitional piece, just to kind of set the stage. Both shots in both scenes here are just scenery shots, kind of shots of Los Angeles or the surrounding areas. Yeah, interesting. Let's listen to how they ended this second usage.
Definitely.
So the riff happens 3 times, and they end with a hit. So maybe it's this hit here. So it's 2 hits. So maybe this next one. That's it. So there you go. That's the hit. So they start with the guitar riff, and they end with the hit. Okay. So right there is roughly where the editor cut it. And if you listen carefully, you can actually hear on the right side some strings coming in, fading in. And if I recall correctly, here on this hit, we have a little swell into the hit. Yeah. So that makes for actually a nice edit point. Let's go watch this again and see how the editor cut this. Go back just a touch.
Definitely a lot going on under here.
And then we also have a sustained hit. So let's see if that sustained hit there. I believe that's a note right there. So there you go. So real low is that final hit, that sustained chord.
Definitely a lot going on then.
So it's interesting how this piece was cut together just for that second scene where it's just the intro, this little batch here. Then they grab this, the 2 hits here, right around 128. And then they ended with that sustained chord right around 152. Now, this is a very interesting usage of what was a big epic orchestral trailer track. But if you paid attention to trailers back in the 2011, 2012, 2013 range, trailers at that time were all big epic orchestral rock based. I shouldn't say all, we'll just say that was a trend that was happening in the trailer world. And that's why we definitely, created this record and its follow-up, which was called Fire and Ice, which is another epic orchestral rock trailer album, because that's what was happening in the trailer world at that time. Now, that's not what's happening in the trailer world today. So while these albums had their life back then with the big paying trailers, it's nice that they're still getting that usage 13 years later. And this is a great example of a show where the music editor or one of the editors somewhere who's editing it, who knows how many editors are working on it, but at least one of them has really taken a liking to this track and is using it repeatedly. That is one of the goals when you're licensing your songs. You want to get an editor to like your song so much that they use it over and over and over. And an analogy to that would be if you are trying to get a record deal, you're going down the traditional music industry path. If you find a DJ at some radio station somewhere who likes your song so much that they play it over and over and over, this is really the equivalent of that. So the goal, of course, is consistent placements. And this is a great example of how to land consistent placements, even with songs that are over a decade old. And, I'm very blessed to be able to continue to have placements with songs that, I wrote 13 years ago. It's a great way to really leverage that time from so long ago. Now, one question that comes up often is, how much does it pay? How much do you make with these types of placements? And the honest answer is, I honestly don't know. I'd have to go look through my royalty statement to go find out what each of these paid. But that's never my goal when it comes to landing placements. My goal when it comes to placements is always consistency, landing consistent placements. These might only pay $5 or $10 every time it airs. Who cares? That's not much. But if you're landing it on every episode, and then they're using it in the next season, and it's a popular show, then that's when you start doing really well. Now, at the same point, a lot of these editors move from show to show, series to series. And when you've made an impact on them, it's been my experience that they end up using your song in the other shows that they work on. So that's another big aspect of the longevity here and landing consistent placements. That's how you really make your living. Yes, we all want to land the big trailers that are going to pay us $60,000, $70,000, $80,000. And when you land those, definitely celebrate that. That's phenomenal. But you're really going to build your career through these consistent placements, especially when you look at a catalog here that's well over a decade old. Songs I haven't thought about for years are still out there, still generating upfront licensing fees. They're still generating back-end royalties, even if they're only 5-second transition placements in a Netflix series. So I hope this has been inspiring for you and informative. At the very least, if you have an old guitar pedal or some type of sound effect laying around your studio that you haven't used in a long time, it might be wise to break it out, dust off, the dirt, and just see what it sounds like. Even if you're a keyboard player, run that keyboard through some cool effects and see what cool sounds you can get, because this is a great example of where the sound and the production, in my opinion, is what's continuing to give the song life, as opposed to just the notes that were played. The notes that were played are really not that interesting, but it's the sound that really grabs your ears, and it's that production that grabs your ears. And there's so much value to creating new sounds and playing with various effects and just seeing what you can get out of them. Even if it would never be on radio, this is something that could easily get you a placement on TV. All right, we'll talk to you all soon. If you're interested in getting your songs into your favorite films, TV shows, commercials, trailers, and video games, you're going to want to check out the free guide below.